Hello, Greg. Finally, we're at the end of the 6 weeks program, and this is the last week. And we're gonna use this week not to do any other tools, but to review how your program went. Throughout the 6 weeks, how you improved, what changed, what's good, what's bad, and everything. And off record, I spoke to Greg, and he claimed that it's really helped him. The program has gave him more confidence in himself. He already has a good confidence, but it made him even more confident in himself during games and before games, instead of being anxious and stressed out and worried about messing up and everything. And he said it's really helped him, especially the positive self-talks and the relaxation techniques. He claimed that he used it. It was one of some tools that he could use anyway. So just before we get into the analysis, like the last bit, let's just go through what we did throughout the 6 weeks. So the first week, we carried out the tests. Greg done a couple of questionnaires, 3 questionnaires actually, which was a general questionnaire, CSAI2, and a SCAT questionnaire. And in the SCAT and in the general questionnaire, Greg showed that he had an average arousal and anxiety level, and he had a good self-confidence. But however, in the CSAI2 questionnaire, which is more detailed and more in depth, we found out that he had more high anxiety, high cognitive or mental anxiety levels, and he had average physical anxiety levels. But if one is high and one's low, or if both are high, it's not a good thing, because one affects the other. Because it's a mind to body business here. Like, if the mind is affected, the body will also be affected. If the body is affected, the mind will also be affected. So it's important that we worked on both during the 6 weeks program. And we decided to do some relaxation techniques, concentration training, which is the imagery and everything, goal setting, which is what we did in the first week. And in the second week, we decided to do education. We decided to learn about anxiety, and it was important for the client to understand what the issue was here, what he was facing, because he was experiencing it. He knew everything. If he could describe how he felt and everything, but he didn't know what was exactly going on in his body. So we had to go through that just briefly. And in the second week, I helped the client to understand the issue, what anxiety was, the symptoms, the different symptoms, not one, not two, but many, how that affects his performance also, because it gives him poor concentration, and which affects his overall performance and everything, and his mind will be all over his place, his confidence will be low. So and also how to overcome it, which is by identifying it, challenging it, and replacing it. And then we talked about how we're gonna replace it, challenge it throughout the next couple of weeks, and how we can better ourselves. In week 3, we practiced cognitive behavioral tools, which were progression, deep breathing. We started with deep breathing, and then we continued on to progression, muscle relaxation, and that helped him to know the difference between tension and relaxation. So when he's anxious, his body will tense up, so he knows that's when he's really tense his body. But when he's more relaxed, he will know that that's the state that he should be in. And the more he practiced that relaxed state, the more his body would be adapted to just switching automatically to relaxed state when he's feeling anxious at random times. Not only during performance, or not only before performance, but even just throughout just a normal daily life. And he claimed that was a bit hard to do in the beginning. He didn't see much change in his performance in the first session. He didn't see any effect. It was different. He claimed it was different, and he practiced in the first session and everything, but he didn't really feel much, but when he went home and he practiced it over and over again, as how I told him, as I gave him the homework to do so, he practiced over and over again, 2-3 times a day throughout the week, 4 times a week. He started seeing some differences, some change in the way he feels, the way his body feels, and he understood that actually he was physically anxious also. You know, the questionnaire showed that he wasn't, but the body was tensing up and everything, so he was physically anxious. So he understood that he had to also work on that. So on week 4, we worked on deep breathing again, and also imagery and visualization. We started off simple when it came to the imagery and visualization, because it's hard to use all the 5 senses, and it was hard for the client to just jump into it. It'd be hard, not only him but anyone. If you tell someone to imagine something and to use all the 5 senses, to taste, to smell, to see, to hear, to feel at once, they wouldn't be able to do it. So you gotta train them. They gotta be able to do the basics, the general things first, and then build up to do a more detailed and more greater script. You know what I mean? So we started with simple ones like smelling coffee shops, walking past a coffee shop and smelling the coffee, taste of a chocolate, meeting your favorite person, or hearing the sound of your sports car, etc. There was other examples also that we used. So that's what we did in week 4, and that helped him to fire up his senses. So when he went home and he kept on practicing it over the weeks until the next session, all his senses, all the neurons and everything in his body were used to using the senses. He said it was hard to do the sound bit, to use the sense of sound. You know, he couldn't. He was finding it hard. He was struggling to hear the sounds of the cars and everything. He could imagine it and everything. He could visualize it, but he couldn't hear the sound. He could, but not that much. He was finding it hard. So, but again, he claimed that over time, as he was working over it throughout the week, and the more he listened to it and everything, the more he got used to it. So he got control over his body and over his senses more over the week. And then in week 5, we used all the techniques we used in week 3 and 4, and a new tool, which was a positive self-talk. We started with deep breathing, and then we continued on to progression muscular relaxation to get the mind and the muscles and the body ready to do the imagery and visualization, which was a long script to do with his game, you know, related to sport, related to his anxiety situations, and continued on to positive self-talk also. We pumped him up, we motivated him, we taught him how to replace the negative thoughts, like we mentioned in week 2 in the education. I taught him how to challenge those thoughts and then replace them with positive thoughts by doing positive self-talks. So, and also we didn't finish the script on record, but after the script we continued and we done another 10-15 minutes imagining the whole game, and he said that really helped him, and that really opened up his eyes to positive things rather than the negative things that he was normally anxious and worried about. So overall, we done again today on the week 6. We done the tests again, all 3 tests, and it showed that the SCAT and the general questionnaire stayed roughly the same, but the CSAI 2 showed that his anxiety levels dropped by 3 marks. Still not the average, but before he had 23, and the average is like 18 and below, but this time his marks dropped from 23 to 19. So it's almost there, but it's not just there. So what he needs to do is, I'm guessing that if it was only the sessions that we were doing, it wouldn't have probably worked. But because the client was motivated enough to go home and do the training that we done, use the tools that I taught him during the session, because he used them and he practiced them and he was motivated to get better, that actually helped him to drop those marks by 4 and get him where he is. And over time, if he continues to do this after the program, definitely he will be into the average anxiety level. So, what were the strengths and the weaknesses of the whole program? Well, my strengths, I think, were I took my time to use the tools. I didn't straightly jump into the techniques using the tools, like for example the use of imagery. I didn't jump into the script straight away. I built it up from A, and then I built up from the bottom. I built up the foundation. I laid out the foundation by doing simple stuff, and then I created the building by drawing out the script for him to imagine. So that was a good thing. Also, the client also mentioned that was a really great thing and it helped him. Also, the client understood all the instructions that I was giving him, all the descriptions and all the explanations, and he understood. He didn't find it hard or anything, so that's another strength. Another one can be the fact that the test results, now the post program, therapy program results, questionnaire results show that his anxiety levels dropped by 4 marks, almost average. So, which is another strength. And also, he claimed that the therapy sessions helped him to relax more in general in life. When he was faced by situations, whether it's to do with family, friends, or education or sports, he knew how to overcome them by using the tools that I taught him. And also the homeworks that I was giving him throughout the weeks helped him to develop all those senses and all those to use all those tools and to gain control over his feelings and his emotions and his body, which allowed him to be able to direct himself wherever he wants to go. So if he's feeling negative, then he's now able to direct himself to do positives, to think positive, quicker and more than he did before. So those are my strengths. And my weaknesses, I can say, were in some of the sessions there were noise in the background that could have been eliminated but haven't been. So in the future, if I was to do a session again, I would go to a quieter place, and I would use music to get the client relaxed and everything. The noise in the background could have also distracted the client from imagining the scripts, or even being able to relax. It would have distracted him, but luckily he claimed it didn't, so good. Also, my other weaknesses, my other areas for improvement can be the fact that I've rushed through the instructions at times, but that was because I didn't have memory on the camera, on the recording device, so I had to rush through it. But off the camera, we done the session properly. We broke it down, we gave it time, and we gave it like 30 to an hour each session, so which was a really great thing. And the sessions could have been longer as well. It would have helped him to ask more questions, and if he had any, and improve the overall program. How to improve? Next time, quieter place, like I already said. Take my time when explaining the instructions. Even though he understood, he needs the time to allow it to sink in. Even though he understood it, he needs to lay foundation deep, so that next time, when he's faced with anxiety, he'll be able to return back to those instructions, remember them, think about them, and do them. Also, we could have done a longer program, not only 6 weeks, but longer, like 12 weeks or 18 weeks or something, because we could have pushed the scores, the questionnaire scores, the post program scores up to the average anxiety levels. So longer program would have worked. We could have used more tools as well, such as music and massage and yoga and everything, physical therapies. Also, we could have done the sessions more frequently throughout the week, not only once a week but 2-3 times a week, which would have given them more ability to develop those tools and those characteristics and that positive self-image that he should be having in order to be great at what he does and in order to perform the best of his potentials. So yeah, that's the 6 weeks program completed, and I'll see you some other day. Bye bye.